Man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with, and I call it Dr. Sanja Nobles. What they call it? Is it the Windy City where they call it? You know, Chi-Town?
Yes,
Chi-Town?
yes.
Yeah.
Chi-Town, Windy City. Happy to
There we
be
go.
here, James.
Um,
Happy to be here.
my goodness, my goodness. How is the weather there, by the way, where you guys are at?
Today, very gloomy. Yesterday, it was like almost 70 degrees. Today is probably in the 40s and rainy. So
What?
just all your jackets handy because it will change in a moment. Like even throughout the day. So us Chicagoans already know how it goes. So we're prepared. We ride the wave.
You ride the waves, huh? Because you
Yes,
know,
ride
right?
the wave. Yes.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. Where I'm at, I just finished going on a nice long walk with with the kids, the wife, the kids, and the dog. And I've been indoors working all day, and I didn't know today was such a beautiful day. So this is, it totally caught me off guard. And I was like, man, I'm missing out on life right now. I need to get out more often. So,
Yeah, we gotta start planning for those pauses. Otherwise we miss it. We will miss the day.
yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you said we have to start planning those because I definitely have been dropping the ball on that part right there. I get so busy and I get so inundated with trying to help everyone, the admin side and everything.
Right.
I'm losing out on those little pockets of life. So I'm glad. I'm glad I have my baby girl. She's my heart. So she's like, okay, Dad, we need a break.
Yeah.
And she just stands there. That's all she says. I'm like, okay. And, she gets me wrapped, right? So it's like, all right.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Right.
So let's do it, right?
So
So,
we make sure, but yeah, it is important for us to do that and just to pause because we will, entrepreneurs, you are at your computer, you are working all day and night. People have to tell you to take a breath and come out and play with them, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. So and I want to thank everybody who's logging on right now. And I want to thank everybody. If you are new to the Laster Financial Consultants family, I want to say thank you for being here. You're welcome here. You're loved. No shame, no guilt, no condemnation. If you ever want to get in touch with us, just, leave a comment inside the box, DM us, like us on The Laster Financial or All About Others on YouTube. You catch a lot of educational content in there. And what we do is we like to take the fear out of finances through education, So I'm going to pose a question to everybody. And the question that I'm going to pose to you, all right, you could be in you can be in this category or know somebody in this category, but here's the question. Have you ever had a bill or had something due and missed the due date, but the money was in the account? Have you ever missed the due date, but you had the money? You just
Yes.
paid it late. If you
It
are one
happens.
of those people, you're going to enjoy what we have for you this evening. And if you stick around, there's going to be a great, awesome resource provided to all of you so that you are never stuck in that position again. I want to welcome everybody to Dr. Sanja Nobles out there in Chicago,
Number one.
Illinois. I
So
am
number one
super.
disclaimer, I am not a doctor.
She is not a doctor. This is the
Not a
disclaimer.
doctor.
I call her a doctor, people. And when you hear her talk, you too will call her a doctor. See? Power
Oh, wow.
believe, or power perceived as power believe. She's not a doctor. I call her a doctor because of the wealth of knowledge that she has. And this is going to be an awesome session. And what we're talking about this evening are accounting best practices. Now, we're going to talk about accounting best practices for business owners, But what we have found out is that many business owners, their home finances are not as tight as they probably want them to be or would like them to be. And so they carry over habits into their business. And to the detriment of their business, some of these accounting practices can be tightened up, can be cleaned up. So we're going to go over some of these items that is pertaining to accounting best practices. But I definitely want to invite Sanja into the conversation. Hey, Sanja, can you just give us a little quick, intro, a little bit of background about you, who you are, once again, where you're at, and your profession, please?
So my name is Sanja Noble. I've been in the financial industry for about 25 years. I just pretty much have done everything from credit repair to doing personal trust to helping people with insurance. Basically, I just love helping us to do better. So I am a firm believer that if you're educating somebody, you're giving them the wealth of knowledge, and then they're able to practice what you preach. So I'm always here and wanting to be a resource for everyone.
You hear that, people? Resource, okay? Resource, okay?
Yes.
And I don't know if anybody heard that. Did you hear, like I heard 25 years? Okay. Yes. So out of 25 years of being in the industry, the question that I ask about those folks missing late payments, in your profession and all of your years of experience, who would you say has this issue more than others?
More than others, I would say mainly men have this more than women. Women tend to be a little bit more in tune with what's happening. I'll say more precise and more, what's the word? Just kind of paying particular attention to the small details, and paying bills when it's not a large bill can easily slip somebody's mind.
Yeah. And sadly, that's true. To many respects, that's true. I've worked with a lot of business owners. Matter of fact, I was working with someone last week. They're a crane operator. That's literally their business. They're a crane operator, and they've been going out to sites, and they have the crane, and that's what they do. They're a craner, right? But when I'm sitting down and I'm talking, and I'm talking about the accounting, one of the seeds of where this conversation come from. We were going to have this conversation last week, but I just want to see how this plays out. So I had to ask a few other questions, and the deal was, I said, so who pays the bills? And his response, it just floored me, because it was a response that many male business owners reply. And the response was, I make all the money. I trust my wife, so I leave it to her.
Right.
I leave it to her. So if you are a man or a woman, please stay tuned to this conversation, because there's going to be some nuggets that's dropped to you, especially the men.
And, I will say this, in a household like that, it's very important for you all to set aside time to have a conversation as to what is going on. I was meeting with a couple of families, and their pastor suggested to them to have what was like a monthly financial assessment night, so which they sit down and talk about everything that happened in the month past, what's happening in the future, but really getting a hold on what's happening. So it's not just one person that knows what's going on in the family or business.
Yeah. I think that works. And if I may, I personally know what works in my household, because I know where we've been through. Next week, Tuesday, like, folks, heads up, you're not going to see me next week on Tuesday. We're celebrating my 27-year wedding anniversary to my high school sweetheart. So that's a big day. So my team will be working. I will not be working. because there's a reason I've been married 27 years.
You know what you need to do.
But what I will say is honestly and truthfully, we have been through some things. Like, these were not things that we just knew to do. These were not situations that we knew to more or less. How can I say? This is not a. Oh, we have people joining. All right, there we go. I love it. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the conversation. We're talking this evening about best practices for business owners. You're more than welcome to join in, or if not, or not.
I want to go, brother.
No worries, my friend. No worries. That's another.
Enjoy, guys.
Absolutely. We have all kinds of gurus just dropping in. This is pretty awesome. But inside my household, we have that one day a week where we talk about the past, the present, and the future. So we always stay grounded. Mm-hmm. And for us, Thursday is our day. Thursday, our day. Now, we have, we have to plan for that Thursday, by the way. So we plan, are we going to do breakfast together and talk about some few things? Are we going to do lunch together, talk about a few things? Or are we going to do it after kids go to bed? But no matter what, before we lay our heads down, every Thursday we're talking about that. And we choose Thursday. Because Monday through Wednesday is always rough, no matter what, on both ends. Friday, that's Sabbath day. So we don't want to do anything there. Saturday, Saturday is out. And we used to try Sunday evening.
Mm-hmm.
And, we got football, So
okay, well, that's important. Then we need to block it out, because I don't need you to be distracted when we're talking about these things. So we need to be focused.
Exactly. So speaking of focus, I want to, when I'm working with clients, I like to talk about the 5 C's of finance. And definitely, if you're taking notes, I want to go ahead and give you the 5 C's so you're not in waiting. But I definitely wanted to hear Sanja's take on some of these best practices. Okay. So the 5 C's of finance, business finance and personal finances, is first your character, right? What are you doing to instill trustworthiness within yourself, within your spouse, within your household, within the financial institutions that you're working with, within your clients? What are you doing there? So it's character. Second one is capacity / cash flow, right? What's your financial situation? What is your cash flow situation looking like? What is your capability, your capacity to be able to pay your monthly obligations? The third C is capital, right? What do you currently already have invested inside of a financial institution, inside of a business, inside of real estate? What does your capital outlook look like? The other one is conditions or conditional, right? What strategies do you have locked and loaded and prepared? And we even go philosophies. What do you have prepared in adverse financial times? What are your go-tos to make sure that you stay afloat financially? And then the 5th C is always collateral. What do you currently own? What can you use as collateral to get something else? So those are the 5 C's. And Sanja, who's a very characteristic, integrous, honest person, has already started off with the character part. So we've already started talking about having a time weekly that we're talking about finances, but in your opinion, what should that look like?
I think you just have to learn how to dedicate and block that time off. I think we just talked about that, really blocking the time off and setting how important that is, no matter what. whether it's once a week or every other week. It just, you kind of have to set that in your family or your business. If it's in your family, it's usually around when you're getting paid. Like, what bills are we taking on this month? I also want to tell people to don't be so stringent. You need to be flexible. Like when I just said, Sunday was his football day. It's not, you don't really want to say, let's talk about bills, and he really wants to watch the basketball game. So you really want to be able to be flexible. When is a good time where you have prayed about it, you have a peace of mind, and you're ready to tackle on what's happening in your household.
Yeah. And I will go as far as and say that it's a commitment. It's a commitment. That's where the financial goals are very important, because if you have a financial goal but your business partner doesn't have the same goal, or your spouse doesn't have the same goal, then it's not a shared commitment. Shared commitments, makes the goal setting process and the goal achievement process that much more glorious, right?
Well, I will add to that and say that you have to start this process by setting goals together. If you don't have the same goals and you are not going to go in the same direction, it's not going to work.
Wow. And by the way, I see a few people chiming in. Definitely go ahead and ask your questions inside the chat box. This is a very fruitful conversation, and all hands on deck here. Let's go ahead and start asking those questions, because if you have a question, you're not the only one who have that question. Okay.
Right. Right.
And I always tell people, there was a time where my wife and I, we were put in a position where we were being ministered to, but then asked to minister to other people. And what I found is that, for example, a couple that wants to purchase a house, or two business owners that have ambitions to acquire another business. Well, what's the reason, right? What are you willing to commit to make sure that happens? And I find that having mutual goals helps, it brings in that level of commitment to reaching those goals that you need. So that commitment that we have to every Thursday night, and for you guys, it could be, a different night, maybe not Sundays, right? I don't know. Right? That commitment that you have, then if there's a commitment, then what goes along with that commitment is kind of like, let me be prepared because I know that Thursday is happening.
Right.
Let me be prepared. And I would throw this out there too. There's always in every relationship, business relationship, husband and wife relationship, partnership, however you have, there's always a spender and there's always a saver. It's very rarely that I come across two savers or two spenders. Well, I do come across two spenders a lot, but most of the time it's a saver and a spender, right?
Right.
And just so you guys know, in my household, I hate to admit this, my wife's the saver.
Okay. I believe that.
My wife's the saver. So as a spender, and I believe this, the spender is the one who needs to come more prepared to that commitment meeting than a saver. So, Sanja, what do you think that meeting should look like, whether it's business partners or spouses? If we're talking about having that time once a week or once a month and talking about finances, what should that meeting look like, or maybe some ground rules that go into the meeting? What's your thoughts on that?
Ground rules. Oh, well, I think just to prepare, I think you have to be honest. You have to be honest with your partner, and you have to be honest with yourself. You also need to know what's on the horizon. So if there's a large purchase that you want to make, whether it's something for your car, if it's equipment for your business, if it's you need to do some Facebook live, Facebook ads or something to boost your business. I mean, you have to come with the plan and the strategy and tell them why this is important, whether it's for safety reasons or profitability. It's important for you to be able to explain that. So you need to be able to think about these things before you come so there's no confrontation. A lot of times people don't understand why you're asking for something, but if you're prepared with the reason and can articulate what that reason is, and more times than not, she may let you buy that special gift that you really want for yourself for golf season or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that that's important.
That's amazing that you would say that, because what I would like to add to that is, what's the game plan? What's the intended outcome?
Mm-hmm.
What is the true desire? And I remember wanting to, there was one point that I wanted to set aside some money, or shall I say, I was a little tight on the money. And my wife, knowing me, was like, whoa, yeah, the spender? Being tight? What's going on here? Like, red flags all over the place, right? Right. And the truth of the matter is, well, I was trying to do two things. I wanted to take the kids to, NBA game, and I wanted to buy her something in advance for her birthday.
Okay.
But I didn't want to let her know, so I plotted to say, hey, I want to get the tickets.
Right.
But the money that I saved aside to get the tickets, I was going to get her something.
Gotcha.
But she blew that one out of the water. Right? And that's why it bothers me if you see, like, on the Christmas time commercials where the husband says surprise, and he buys this brand new $90,000 vehicle with a red bow on top. Oh yeah, that's his and hers. It's like Merry Christmas, and I'm like, no, that's not real. That's not practical. Like, sweetie, don't you ever buy a $90,000 vehicle?
But at the same time, with you all planning and stuff, there's no way she would even do anything like that. That would be something for your entire family.
Yeah.
So with this conversation, so there's no surprises. So sorry.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So that brings me to the portion of capacity or cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
There's different types of cash flows that I'm seeing that people can have. They can have cash flow from maybe a salary, a side gig, babysitting or something. Then they got a business, a side business. They may have, some people, they have like an MLM business or network marketing business that they're really into. Social Security, annuities, dividends. They have cash flow coming from different ways. Like, what's your thoughts on how to manage different sources of cash flow? What to do with them?
As far as a business or on a personal, well, I'll just say on the personal side, I will say that I think it's important for us to have, like we say, the 7 streams of income, right? You'll have your salary that you are going to do your basic needs from. You may have, and when we were talking about husband and wife having, being able to make that special purchase for her that she doesn't know about may come from your second income that you're getting, that no one knows how much you're actually getting, but that's your play money. Your salary goes in the whole pot and it's got to take care of all of your household and your kids' stuff. Then you may have your side business, insurance. It could be, anything that you're doing, DJing on the side.
Yeah.
You may have the money on there that's for travel or things like that. So I think that it's okay to have those separate, but it still goes, you still personally should have your own spreadsheet that tells you how much is coming, because a lot of times that secondary income, sometimes gets to be a little higher than your main thing. And you have to kind of rebalance and see if you need to put more money in the household pot.
There we go. And I would go as far as to say, I always teach my clients you need a minimum of 3 different bank accounts. And there's several reasons for that. But I use the analogy of the unsavvy business owner who's commingling funds. Needs money for home, he's going to take out this pot. Needs money for the business, he's going to take out this pot. And what happens in that month where you got both the business and the home pulling at each other, right? Oh, more importantly, what about when tax time comes up?
Right.
Right.
You don't know where you spent your money.
Exactly.
Seats and stuff together. Well, it is important. We've taught ourselves that it's okay to do that because it's just me I'm the only person in my business, but it's very important for you to have separate accounts.
And for those of you guys, you know me, I always believe you should have a flow account. You should have one account that you're flowing with. And I won't go into that. You guys have heard me before, but I really believe that you should have a minimum of 3 accounts. Some of the healthiest marriages that I've seen is that they have, a joint checking and joint savings. And then, the husband has his checking account and the wife has her checking account, savings account as well. And it's kind of like, all right, this is my play money. I feel like my own man. I feel like my own woman. Hey, I got my, what? You can't tell me anything, right? And
well, everybody wants to treat themselves every now and again.
Exactly. Because I don't think it's practical on a long-term basis that you don't take a little out for yourself. I do believe in a part of your expenses you should add in, okay, I'm giving an example, $200 for me this month. I'm going to splurge $50 a week. It's my me time. I'm gonna love me because I love me, right? And
well, you work hard.
But I work, and then when I get time off, well, I'm cheap. I don't want to spend nothing, but when I spend, I spend. Right? So, right? But
you have some breaks.
Right? I know, right? But the other thing is, I think you can splurge and you can use your capacity or look at your cash flow. And as long as you're able to save, at least, $200 biweekly or $400 a month, you're good.
Yeah.
And I often get, let's see, we got a question coming in.
Okay.
Oh, where do we save our money? Where do we save our money? Okay, great question. All right, so let me say what I was getting ready to say real quick, and then I want to bounce off to Sanja a couple of places where you should save your money. So get ready. All right, so here we go. I'm always telling people you should save $400, at least $400 a month. Where does that number $400 come from? So if you historically, if you look at the 80s, if you look at 2002 and 2008, and more notably in 2020. In 2008, a bunch of people were going through mass foreclosures, right? Short sales through the roof. And it was just a hard time for people. And notably, when you look at the 80s, you look at 2002, you look at 2008, 2012, all right, starting to get a bounce rate in 2020, most people were having a hard time because they could not afford $297 a month. They were short $297 a month. Okay. Now, the $400 mark, where that came from is that, number one, it takes care of that $300 a month threshold. So if you're budgeting and you're able to save, at least that $300 mark, well, then you're going to be good. You're not over budget. Well, the $400 point comes from if you save that, emergencies are going to happen. But if you save that over time, if you didn't have an emergency over, let's say 12 or 18 months, you're straight, you're good. And then compound interest and so forth, you should be good. That being said, Sanja, where are a couple places we should save? What do you think?
Well, definitely not the bank.
All right, stop. The doctor said, disclaimer, she's not a doctor. The doctor said the first thing came out of her mouth, not the bank. Okay. All right, where else?
Not the bank. I firmly believe in using insurance instruments in order to save for your families. I think that's the safest thing to do. There are other things that you can do that are going to give you higher rewards, but there's a lot of pain in riding the wave of that big reward. So that's my answer.
And to piggyback on that, I think everybody should research the 401k. Do your homework on the 401k, and it will corroborate what Sanja just said, right? Because in the history of the 401k, you'll find out that the 401k was after World War II. The 401k was created to make it easier for people. I'm sorry, after the Great Depression and the market fell and everything, it made it easier for people to get inside the stock market. It was the place that business owners would take, their overflow of money and just stuff it there, and so that they can get a tax deduction off of it. It wasn't meant to be a retirement plan. And because it wasn't meant to be a retirement plan, it's synonymous to stocks. It's synonymous to cryptocurrency, right? So yeah, of course it can go up, but also it can go down. Make losses, you take losses, you can make gains, right? It's a crapshoot. You don't know where you're going to be at in the end. Right? So if you put it in the bank, the money market or a CD, you're lucky if you get 1%. And I know maybe 2%, right? But it's interesting that, and I'm not going to say it, it's interesting you said insurance. What kind of growth do you think we can get in insurance, Sanja? I don't know. What do you think?
Sorry, what'd you say?
What type of growth do you think people can get in an insurance product opposed to the bank?
About 7%. That is guaranteed. That's safe. I'm not worried about losing my money at all. So it's always going to be there.
And it's liquid and accessible.
Definitely.
You just got to pick up the phone, shoot an email, right? And you have access to your money, right?
Yes.
And let's see. We got another question here. Let's say, I don't understand this question. I'll try to make out what it says.
Okay.
How to access your money in a life insurance policy versus a 401k. How to access your money. I'm gonna try to read through this.
Okay.
Definitely chime in, Sanja.
Okay.
And I start with a 401k because most people understand the 401k. Okay. So a 401k, you do not own it. The company that you work for, there's a trust that owns your 401k. That's why you can't access or take from your 401k while you're still working. That's built inside the trust rules. So the only way you can access your 401k is by way of a loan. And if you take a loan from your 401k, guess what you have to do? You have to pay it back. And you pay it back from your monthly earnings. Okay. Mm-hmm. The other way that you can take from your 401k is, well, if you no longer work at that job anymore. And they can take up to 60 to 90 days to give you access to those funds, unless there's a hardship. And the third way is if you are over 59 and a half, then you can have access to your 401k. And in all of the scenarios of taking a withdrawal out of your policy before age 59 and a half, there's a 10% penalty. After 59 and a half, there's not a 10% penalty. I hope I'm answering your question. I'm just trying to understand. So Sanja, how do you take money out of a life insurance policy? What's the best way? And what's the worst way? No.
Is there a worse way?
Oh yeah, I would say there's a worse way. There's a preferred way, and then there's
the preferred way is just to call, and if you have a policy, there are certain policies that are out there, IUL in particular, that you're able to call up and take out a loan against in your account, the money that you have there.
So that's the best way, people. I was giving a leading question, right? So the best way to take money out of your life insurance policy is by way of loan. Okay. The worst way to take money out of your life insurance policy is by way of a withdrawal. There's a difference, right? If you take your money out of your life insurance by way of withdrawal, you decrease the amount of interest that your policy can earn, right? If you take your money, and by the way, if you take your money by way of withdrawal, there's a potential tax that can be involved, depending on how much money you're taking out. If you're taking your money out by way of loan, all right, you're not disrupting interest and it's not taxable. Right. Okay. So let's think about it in terms of the 401k. You take a loan from your 401k, you're really getting a loan from the business, from the business. You're not really breaking the interest. So your 401k is still earning interest inside your account. It's earning interest, or and it's taking losses as well inside the account, but you never disturb the interest that's inside the account. Okay. Same thing with the life. And by the way, in the 401k, if you're taking a loan, you're not taxed on that loan. It's just a loan. Same thing within a life insurance policy. If you take a loan, you're not disturbing interest. You're not affecting the growth inside of your policy. Keep it moving. Life is good. Right. So I hope we're answering your questions. I just didn't understand that. Let's go into the third C. The third C is about managing the capital inside of your finances. And that's the amount that you have invested in other areas. When we're talking about capital, that's basically your investments, it's your cash flow, that's your savings. I don't know. I'm stuck on how to explain managing different assets that somebody would have. How have you seen it managed in the past, Sanja?
I think for me, I think you have to understand your limitations. I think that when you think about it, it's like you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? But if one hand is hurting, how much are you willing to give to this loan of all the things that you have access to? And so at some point, and I know that we as entrepreneurs have a trouble of calling it quits, because you're running, you may not be making as much money as you can, and you keep pouring money into this, but you have to know your limitation. If you're taking out of this pot over here and now you're suffering, you have to know when to throw your hands up at some point. And I think that that's what's important lesson in that part.
Oh. So, man, she's good. I told y'all, right? She's good. Because she's talking about the first C, and she's talking about the fourth C, and we're on the third C. That's good. That's talent right there. I guess what I want to just extrapolate from this conversation is that basically there are many types of investments that you can have. There's many types. And for those of you who know me, just go to our YouTube page and you hear me talk about tools, results, and lifestyle. Tools, results, and lifestyle. And if you haven't heard me, it goes something like this. There are many different financial products and tools. You hear about them all the time. They're on the news, right? What's a financial product? You got checking account, savings account, right? Credit card could be a financial tool. Stocks, bonds, annuities, Social Security, cryptocurrency, real estate, American depository receipts, palladium, gold, commodities. There's many different types of financial products and tools that you always hear. They say you need to have some of this. You got to have this. You got to diversify your portfolio. Right? You hear that, right? And then there's the results. What are the anticipated results that you're anticipating to get from these financial tools, these products? Right? What results are you going to get? And then the third part of it is lifestyle. What lifestyle are you trying to obtain or maintain when you get to your goal, or when you're actually going to go retire? Right? So what takes a hit is normally the lifestyle. When you chose the wrong tools, you get the worst, not the desired results. What's affected? The lifestyle, right? So that's why when I'm sitting down and I'm talking to many of you, when we're having these conversations, open forum style, how we're doing right now, I want to know about your lifestyle. That's why we're thoroughly going inside and said, hey, what's your income looking like? What's your debts looking like? What's your net worth? Like, what type of lifestyle are you trying to obtain or maintain? Because if we can talk about that lifestyle that you desire, that you want, that you're trying to get, then I know what type of results that you're going to need. And if I know what type of results you're going to need, I can tell you these are the products and tools that you need to support that lifestyle. That's how it works. So when we're talking about managing capital, Sanja, she hit the nail right on the head. It all depends. Maybe your portfolio will not look like your mom's or your dad's portfolio, or your cousin, your sister, or your friend's portfolio, because what type of lifestyle are you trying to obtain opposed to them? It's always going to be a different story. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anything to add on to that, Sanja? I'm just speaking from the heart here. Right. Which leads us to the fourth C. Mm-hmm. It's conditions. This is huge. If you're listening right now, and if you don't get anything out of this conversation, this is the part right here. I really need you just to focus and tune in. Okay. This is the part where we're talking about strategies, right? The conditions that you're going to live by are the strategies you're going to use when financial adversities strike. Sanja, I'll let you go first.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Strategies. I put it to you like this. There's installment payments, and then there's revolving payments. And we're talking about, funds coming in, going out. There's installment payments and revolving payments. The installment payments are predetermined amounts that you have to pay every single month. For example, your mortgage, that's already predetermined.
Right.
For many folks, for the next 30 years, it's already predetermined. Your car note, predetermined. Right. But a revolving bill, like everybody has a light bill, but you don't know how much your light bill is going to be next month.
Absolutely not.
Right. This is another one. Cell phone bills. Everybody has a cell phone. But you don't know what your cell phone bill is going to be next month. No. You have an average, You don't know what's going to be next month. It can change. So if it has the capability of changing, that's basically a revolving debt. So in the midst of all of that, what takes priority over the other? What's the game plan here? Well, a big strived methodology of that is that, okay, your mortgage, your insurances are always going to get paid. That's at the top of the list. That's a necessity.
Right.
That's going to get paid before before we buy groceries. That's going to get covered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The strategies. What happens if we don't have enough? Where are we going? Are we going into our emergency fund, or are we going to the credit cards? Right?
Right.
You know, we all got to have some type of strategy in our back pocket, because those strategies they have like a domino effect. Your decision on how you choose to handle adverse financial decisions is really going to impact the next 12 to 18 months. That's the average.
Right. Agreed.
So, yeah.
Well, that comes into the play where you were saying to save for that $400 a month, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that $400 a month means so much, because if you're using, if you have a methodology of how you like to handle those type of things, or behaviorally, like how do you respond to those types of stresses, right? What that $400 has the potential of doing, if you decide to use a portion of your emergency fund, but also you have the credit cards. Now, I don't advocate for this, but when hard times come, you're trying to figure out, how do I make this happen? So with that happening, you should have enough saved up to pay the minimum balance on your credit card at a 7 to 8% interest, or some people have 10%. If it's more than 10%, take our debt detox. Our credit detox course, so we can get you better credit rating, so you can get lower interest rate. But the fact still remains that a strategy has to be in place on how you're going to handle adverse financial times. What are your non-negotiables? I have a parent, a client, and she's a mom of 5 kids. All the 5 kids go to private school. When I spoke to her about her non-negotiable, she goes, it's non-negotiable. They got to go to school. They got to get a great education. I didn't get this. Her dad passed away early. Her mom struggled. She had to pay for college on her own. And so right now, her non-negotiables, her kids are going to get a great education. Oh, that's her non-negotiable. Okay. Everybody has their non-negotiables that no matter what, they're not negotiating on that. That's their belief system. So if you kind of have, your priorities in check, your non-negotiables, which that goes back to those meetings, those weekly meetings,
Right.
those dreaded weekly meetings.
Yeah, but that's where you have your goals, and you're discussing, especially when you have families, husband and wife that come together that have different philosophies. Everybody wasn't raised the same. So someone being able to live off of beans for a month is totally different than somebody else's tolerance level, So you have to know what minimum standards people have, when things get tough.
Yeah.
Or I know for myself, it was important for my parents. They wanted me to have a Catholic school education. That was something that wasn't afforded to them. So when you talk about that, that is something that they worked really hard to make sure that me and my sister did that. But, but for me, growing up, it didn't seem as important to me, but for them, because it wasn't something that was offered to them, it was a non-negotiable for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody's different.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, right? So when I'm talking about, products, results, and lifestyle, we got to start with the lifestyle. I talk to too many people who have talked to somebody else prior to speaking to me. And when they've spoken to someone prior to speaking to me, they're waiting for me to start asking about the money and blah, blah, blah. No. Hey, tell me about you. What's going on? Here's your guy. Oh, okay, what do you guys do? Right. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that's $80,000 a year. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, and then, but one thing you also have to remember to ask them, do they enjoy what they're doing? So you'll know how long they're going to continue to do it. Because if I'm making $80,000 a year and I hate my job, I'm looking for my out. And it may not be to a higher paying salary job. It may just be, I'm tired of this. I've got to go do something completely different.
Which goes back to those commitments. It all ties in. It all ties in very nice and neatly together when you're talking about, the character of it all. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about, the capacity, when you're talking about, capital, what investments do you have? What investments are you trying to make? And definitely, when we're talking about, conditions or conditional treatments, how are you going to wave that storm? Because it's coming, right? I've learned something in my short time living on Earth. If you go to a movie and you already know the ending, the way you're sitting in your seat, your facial expressions are completely different than people who don't know the movie. So financial adversities is more like a horror movie, right? So if you're sitting in a horror movie and you know the end of the horror movie, you're like, wow, that get me every time. But if you don't know the ending, you're all like, I was going to scream, but I didn't. I want to hurt your ears. But it's very taxing. So the same thing goes with having, a game plan. How are you going to handle those adversities? If you sit down and you have a contingency plan put in place, then when those financial adversities happen, it's like clockwork. You're not scared. You're not worried. It's like, okay, well, great. We're going to take this much out of the emergency fund. We're going to use this credit card right here. We're going to cut this bill right here because we're going to have to pay that back right here. And we should be back on track in about 3 months. Done.
But it's such a blessing when you're able to, if something happens unexpectedly, for you to even know that you have options without reacting or overreacting. Like, how many times have you didn't have the money or your bank account or whatever, or a credit card that you can pay for something? When you have it, it's like, yeah, I'm mad. I know I, was saving for something completely different, but you know that you can do it and you can overcome this. It's a relief is what I'll say,
Wow. So you just wrapped up. Say that one more time. Because you just said something real good. Reiterate what you just said.
Part, but, it's basically just if you have an emergency plan, a game plan like you were talking about, when the unexpected happens, it doesn't knock you off your feet. You have such a relief when you know that you have the ability to use one of your resources, whether it's your bank account, your credit cards, or a line of credit or something like that. It's just a bump, instead of you being totally off track and set back. So I didn't say the same, but same thing.
Well, it's the same thing, but you wrapped up in one comment what everyone needs to consider, and that's habitually checking in on your finances, habitually checking out your goals, habitually reassessing your commitments, habitually watching your cash flow, habitually staying on top of everything, right? Because you remember how we opened up this conversation. Have you ever had to pay a late payment, but the money was in the bank, right? All right. Which brings us to the fourth C. And if you're just chiming in, I see a few people just chiming in real quick. We're talking about credit. I mean, we're talking about the 4 C's of managing your finances, and it starts with your character. Are you trustworthy to yourself, to your partner, to your spouse, to your family, on being a good steward of your financial well-being? And the second C is that's capacity, or shall we say your cash flow, right? The many different kinds of cash flow that you may have, making sure that you're managing that in a way that you, once again, are a good steward of those things. Number 3 is your capital, right? It's what are you personally invested in? Where do you have your investments at, right? And we're also talking about, conditions, right? Or conditional conditions of how you plan to manage adverse financial times. Okay. And then the 5th C is collateral. Collateral is something we know it as assets, but collateral is so much more than assets. We live in a society that where most people are just consumers. Well, collateral means that you are an owner of an asset, right? You're not just spending, you own assets. And you own assets that can be collateralized. For example, a house can be collateralized by getting a HELOC. Okay. A car can be collateralized that, if you needed to, you can sell that car and make some money off of it. Trading cards, paintings, gold, or cryptocurrency. That's something else that just keep popping up, right? Shoot, I tell my son all the time, your video game, that's a collateral.
It is, as much as they cost these days. Yes, absolutely.
Right? So managing collateral is simple, but it's not so simple. So the difference between a house and a car, a house appreciates in value, a car depreciates in value. But a car, you can slow down the depreciation so that you can get more value out of it. How do you slow down depreciation so you can have more value? I know, you change the oil, you rotate the tires, right? Just the little things. You wash it, you wax it, right? If you're a dad, you're not allowed to eat in this car, and you get back in the car, you see French fries on the floor. We just see little things, you want to worry about your collateral, right? Your house, for your house, what do we do in our houses? We renovate. We want to increase the value of our houses, and we want to cut the grass. Some of us like being a part of an HOA because it means that everybody has nicely manicured lawns and it increases the property value, right? These all forms of collateral. Because one day we plan to cash in, right? So managing your collateral is super important. We have a lot of people, you get those advertisements in the mail and they say, hey, you have equity in your home. We got a great program going on, and they mess with their equity. People, don't screw with your equity. Right? All right. Yeah, don't play games with your equity, because that's a saving grace, right? Collateral. Your 401k can be used as collateral. A lot of people don't know that your 401k, you can use 10% of that to purchase a house. Use that as your down payment for your house. You get a tax deduction for that, right? Your 401k can be used to start a business. You can get a write-off for that. It's collateral. Okay. You can use your IRA as collateral to purchase a portion of an annuity that will give you lifetime income for the rest of your life. It's collateral. So there are many different forms of collateral, but you want to manage your collateral properly. Any other thoughts on that? Any other thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. So as we're coming to a swift end, folks. Let me check one more time. Questions? I like it when people ask questions and they answer their questions.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay. So here's the deal. To help you guys manage all of your finances and your resources, click the link inside of the chat box, and we want to give you access to our proprietary financial GPS. Your GPS gives you a bird's eye view of your finances, helps you manage your finances, helps you budget, shows you where your money has gone over the past 2-3 years. You're able to do that with this tool. It helps you with managing your taxes, managing your college loans, managing your assets, more importantly, managing your expenses. So if that is something of interest, go ahead and leave a message inside the chat box. That's at no cost to you guys. We just want to leave that out as a resource for all of you guys. Working here with Dr. Sanja Nobles. Disclaimer, she's not a real doctor.
I'm that doctor, you know.
You heard her, all right? She's 25 years. Like, at what point, right? At what point do you need to say, hey, look, I got the credentials. Like, I'm good, right? So, but definitely, we want to thank you all for being a part of tonight's conversation. Best practices on managing your accounting within your household and within your business. You see that a lot of stuff intertwined with each other. But once again, we're just trying to be a resource to you guys, taking the fear out of finances through education. And as we always say, proper planning makes execution easier. I'm James Laster. I'm having the honor of sitting here having conversation live with Dr. Sanja. Just Sanja. We all love her.
Yes, and thanks for letting me join you this evening. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys for chiming in. We appreciate you guys. Love you all. Definitely welcome to the Laster Financial Consultants family. If you ever need us, got a question, just reach out to us at lasterfinancial.com, the Laster Financial on Facebook, All About Others on YouTube. Check us out on LinkedIn.